Hey, I'm Jamie,
And I'm Greg.
and we really like talking about fantasy sports.
Yes, we do.
We met, I guess, at my last job, and we used to spend a lot of our lunch times and also our productive time
Yes.
talking about American sports and how much we loved traveling over there and seeing some American football and NBA and stuff like that. We chatted about it for so long that we were like, hey, what would happen if people listened to us talking about this? And are we as good as we think we are? Or
Probably not.
Or are we worse than we think we are?
Yes, that is more likely.
Yes, it's true. Anyway, so we decided to put our skills as designers and animators down to see what it would look like if we did a little pilot. And so this is it. This is the first episode of some sort of fantasy chatter. We're two Aussies who really like American sports, and so we've bonded, and I guess that's led to me joining Greg's fantasy league.
So I think like 4 years ago, I started a fantasy league, and so we started with 10 people and quickly moved up to 12 people.
I'm sure you had a few duds in there though, right?
Yeah, we had a few. I don't want to bag anyone. That's not in it.
Hey, that's what happens in fantasy though. You've got your taco. Everyone's got a taco.
Yeah, we've got a few.
Yeah.
A
Anyway,
few tacos.
so the point of that was that we cut one of those tacos out, and we added me to the mix.
Yeah. So we brought Jamie in.
Token girl.
Because I thought that she wasn't very good at fantasy football. Well, it turned out I was wrong.
And it's a money league, so they just really wanted to take my money.
So I really just wanted to take her money, but that didn't work out so well.
Yes. So at the end of the day, Greg won the championship last year. 2017.
Yeah, 2017. So
It was victorious. How'd
good.
that championship go? Did you dominate that? I can't even remember.
Man, Gurley carried me.
Oh,
Gurley carried me that.
man, he carries
that
everyone.
championship.
He carries everyone.
He did so well.
Certainly
think
carries
that was
Jared
like-
Goff,
I
as
think-
we saw in the Super Bowl. Oh my God, that was
a
appalling.
horrible Super Bowl.
Let's not talk about it.
Although I have to say that the defenses were very good.
Anyway, enough about
We'll cut that
whoever
out.
won that Super Bowl. We won't talk about it. I think what's important to mention is that this year I won our
Yes,
fantasy
you
league.
did. I feel like I have to say congratulations,
Thank
even though
you.
I'm very bitter.
Thank you. Yeah, he's a bit salty. They got beaten by a girl, and that's okay. Do you know what's interesting though? Is I thought this year I had a horrible draft.
You thought you had a horrible draft?
Okay, I had a horrible draft. Not only did I take
Jags
Jax
in the fifth?
Yeah, I also took Tyler Eifert and Austin Seferian Jenkins and ruined all of them.
Yeah.
I think I killed them all. Daniel Carson, I also got him delisted. He was like the best kicker coming out of college. Just he couldn't kick a field goal after I picked him up. Anyway, on from that, I was taking on what looked like the favorite, right?
Yeah, the guy
Timmy.
who dominated the league for the entire year.
Yeah, Timmy. He had let me go over this. He had Todd Gurley, Tyreek Hill, Joe Mixon, Juju Smith-Schuster, Julian Edelman. What did we do? He took Patrick Mahomes in like one of the last rounds.
Yeah, I was very salty about that because
It was just before maybe.
I really wanted Mahomes. I was going to pick him up that round, and he got stolen from me just before. I thought he was like the diamond in the rough. I thought he would be good, and everyone else had quarterbacks already. I thought I was safe, but apparently Tim strikes again, I guess.
Anyway, he also had Harrison Butker, the kicker.
Butker.
I don't know what everyone else was doing, but they didn't draft anyone good, clearly. If he could get all of those players in his team.
I guess.
How do you feel like your draft went?
I was pretty happy with my draft. I was smashing it as well. I think I was like number 2 in the league until like week 10 or something? Week 10, 11, somewhere around there. And I got riddled by injuries.
You got riddled by injuries.
I got riddled by injuries.
I think you had a few things go wrong, but anyway.
My playoff game was just full of waiver ads.
Yeah, I'm constantly on the waivers.
Well.
It's the only place I really can come into my own. But anyway. All right, shall we start talking about some fantasy?
Sure, let's do it.
Let's kick it off with 10 notable absentees, guys who did not get through the door and did not help you win a championship this year.
Yeah, so I got 10 rubbish players here that didn't help anybody. Fournette, Gronk, Bell, McKinnon, Devontae Freeman, Ajayi, Greg the Leg, AJ Green, Wentz, and Cup. All of these guys were, they went down for extended amounts of time. you drafted most of them pretty early on. I think the biggest no-show in I think everybody's league would have to be Bell. In our league, he went first overall because people just didn't have as much. I guess the guy didn't have as much faith in Gurley.
Yeah,
for some weird reason.
I feel really bad for that. Was our Taco as well, the Taco of our league. He really needed that pick. You know, that's like can be the cornerstone of your team.
Yeah, I think he's turned off of fantasy now.
I mean, he still tried, but I did try and give him the Connor pick actually, and he just
didn't want it.
Passed. Yeah, he was too lazy. He was at work, I think. Poor guy, working hard.
That's the thing. Fantasy it's 24/7.
Yeah,
it's true.
You can't
slack.
It's true. I'm really lucky.
You can't be working.
I work from home, so it's really lucky that I can just, have Sports Center on in the background. ESPN updates coming up.
That's it.
Oh, breaking news.
Pick
Le'Veon
him up.
Bell never ever going to go anywhere. He's in Miami partying. Time to pick up James Conner. He's got a new haircut.
All right. Let's move on. We're already talking about Bell.
I actually feel sorry for a guy that I played who had Fournette. So every year I take a bunch of running backs. I take so many because they're bound to get injured. Anyway, this one guy who I played in the early rounds took Fournette and he lost by like 0.01 of a point or something. And I was like,
brutal. Yeah.
So I felt for the guy. So all year he was complaining about the fact that Fournette was just in and out and doing like not much really. So I kind of felt bad for him. McKinnon's an interesting one. Did you have him in your draft list?
So let me look up some stats. Let me get some stats up because then we can actually talk about how they actually performed rather than just saying that they didn't draft.
Well, Jerick McKinnon got injured for San Fran really early on. I think it was maybe in the first round or the first week rather.
I mean, there's not really much to say about these guys.
He's one of your favourites, isn't he?
I do quite like Freeman. I liked the Coleman-Freeman split. I think they were onto something. You drafted Coleman. He did quite well for you. I think for where you drafted him, he was like a good pick. But Freeman, you were expecting like so much more, and he only ended up playing like 2 games. He just wasn't worth it.
For me, it was one of those years where I always get good and bad luck. Usually I get way more bad luck, and this year I got just enough good luck. Like things like that where people got injured and I happened to have a handcuff.
Yeah, you got pretty lucky like that.
Oh, do you know who's not in there, who should be in there?
Who?
Will Fuller. He's very high risk, high reward, but he seemed to have really good rapport with Deshaun Watson. Yeah, so I think a lot of people drafted him expecting a solid wide receiver too, and they didn't get it. They got a ping. I actually I try not to pick people who are pingers as well. People who have like...
What do you mean by pingers?
Hamstring injuries.
Because I think I have a different terminology than you.
Yeah, in Australia, pingers is something very different. But for me, pingies or pingers are like people who have soft tissue injuries because they tend to like redo the same injuries all the time.
Well, today I learned.
Yes, lesson learned. Gregory, who would you cut from this list? I want to cut someone from this list and put Will Fuller in there.
Maybe Gronk.
Yeah, cut out Gronk. He was an underperformer. Maybe we put him in an underperformer list or something.
I don't. We need to talk about Gronk.
All right.
Let's move on.
Why don't we follow on from that and we'll do 10 underperformers because Gronk for me was an underperformer. I don't know if he's made our top 10 list. Maybe we can add him to that list and take someone off. Yeah. I don't know.
Okay, our 10 underperformers are Baldwin, Hyde, Dalvin Cook, Miller, Fitzgerald, David Johnson, Demaryius Thomas, Golden Tate, LeSean McCoy, and OBJ. And
by Miller, you mean Lamar Miller, who I happened to draft along with many other running backs in the first 7 rounds.
Yeah, you seem to always end up with Miller.
Well, he had so many opportunities.
Just give up.
They're like, look, this guy's done his Achilles. He won't be able to walk for half the year. What are you going to do with those touches? And yet, I really hate the offensive coordinator there. I feel like they telecast it every time. Oh, we're going to run it. Let's put everyone in the box and make him run through everyone.
You buy into the hype too much.
No, it's not the hype. I feel like offensive coordinators have so much pull over what happens. Like you look at Christian McCaffrey finally exploded this year. If only Cam Newton threw it to him on the many lateral options that he had, he would have had like 40 points a game. I watched a lot of Panthers games and he could have done even better, even though he was amazing.
True. Fair call. Miller did end up doing all right though. He wasn't the greatest. He probably wasn't worth where you drafted him, but
no, I definitely took him way higher than what he paid for.
But that's just because you're a Miller fan.
No, it's because I'm a running back fan, really. And do you know what? It paid off for me, right?
What, Miller?
Running backs paid off for me. Well, he got me through the bye rounds. I had some solid running backs, and they're a good.
That's because he didn't do that bad.
They're a good trade piece as well if you get running backs. I find
They are. For anybody listening, just go 5 running backs in the first 5 rounds.
Well, I took one. I usually take a wide receiver 1 in the first few rounds.
Just copy Jamie's strategy.
I definitely have a running
first
back.
5 rounds, running backs. 6th round, defense.
That is the championship recipe, people. Championship soup recipe. David Johnson's an interesting one. Did you see much of him this year?
Yeah. I tried not to watch the Cardinals play because they were just rubbish.
Oh, I'm not sure where you get that idea from. You had Fitzgerald, didn't you?
I had Fitzgerald. I love the guy. I feel sorry for him. Yeah, Jamie picked him up. I dropped him. I had enough of him.
Impatient. The next week, I think he had 18 points or something.
I held him for like 6 or 7 weeks. All right.
It really came down to offensive coordinator again.
It did. And
Josh Rosen
Dev
threw
Johnson,
the ball.
they just kept running him up the middle. Like, man, do you know how David Johnson plays? Do you know what he is skilled at?
Yeah.
Clearly not.
Golden Tate, were you happy with his acquisition? Because you're a Philly. You're a Philly man.
I'm a Philly fan. I thought he did well. You wanted to add him to the list, which is fair enough.
I just think where people drafted him. Where was he drafted? He was drafted pretty high.
Yeah, someone drafted him in the 5th round in our league. I don't know personally if that was a good spot for him to be drafted. He wasn't on my radar. From an NFL perspective, like, I thought he was a great pickup from Philly. I mean, I don't really know why the Lions let him go. And he came through in a clutch game, in the Chicago Bears Philly game.
Yeah, I guess I'm always talking about fantasy.
Fantasy-wise,
I think I'm always talking about fantasy.
So if you spin it back around to fantasy, he didn't perform well, but he was on a new team. What do you expect from him? Like, you've got Hyde as well. I drafted Hyde, and he got traded to the Jags, and it's like, I don't know, he sucked, right? He just didn't get like any touches.
That coincided with your decline, didn't it?
It did.
Like
It was a start.
Hyde.
It was a start. I don't know. I was still okay. I had Kareem Hunt and Melvin Gordon. Don't worry about him. Who else can we talk about?
Right,
McCoy. LeSean McCoy is an interesting one as well. I thought he would have done a lot better than what he did this year.
Yeah, he was in and out. He had a few injuries.
Yeah, he's always riddled with injuries, but
he usually plays through them though.
Yeah, he's usually a bit more resilient.
I think he didn't want to be there. Like,
probably not.
Did you get that impression?
Who wanted to be part of Buffalo?
Josh Allen apparently took the whole team on his back.
Yeah,
ran away with it.
What more can you say about Buffalo?
I'm just gonna look up McCoy. Yeah, so LeSean McCoy played in like 12, 13 games, something like that. He had numerous weeks where he scored under 3 points, which is just abysmal. I don't know, was he injured like the whole time? I'm not actually sure what happened there.
It's hard to tell with McCoy, I think. He's obviously very injury prone, so some weeks it probably came down to his health. Some weeks, I guess, the way the game flow worked. You can see, like, if you look up his stats, some weeks he's got, 15 plus touches, and other weeks he's only got 2, 5, 7.
I think it's funny that, like, people always seem to turn it on against the Jets. So his lone 20-point game, he had 24.3 points. His lone 20-point game was against the Jets. Like, why do that to me? They were actually meant to be good around that point in time as well, overall.
No, they weren't.
You know what I mean? It's stopping something. They would stop.
Yeah.
When you Buffalo, all you have is the run. Stop that. Just stop it. And they didn't. They just let him do whatever.
Yeah, but that's just the nature of the Jets, right?
Let's not talk about it. All right, what do we got? Ooh, let's do some secret squirrel business.
Secret squirrel business.
So I like these versus matchups, Greg, where you pick a player and I pick a player, and we compare them and we go, which one is the better overall player. So let's do for this round. Let's do the best running back that you get off of waivers, and it doesn't have to be you pick them up. It can be someone who's generally available in most leagues, weren't drafted originally,
Yeah, let's do it. Who's your pick?
You can go first for running backs.
Oh, okay. You want to go first for wide receiver? Okay,
Yeah.
okay, sure, fine.
I've got one in my pocket.
Okay, I mean, like, obviously the best waiver pickup for running back was James Conner.
I knew you would go with James Conner. I knew you would go. He finishes.
You can't avoid him.
He was number 7. He was number 7 running back for the year, which is amazing.
Yeah, it's insane.
I
and he didn't even play the last couple of games.
Yeah. Do you know how many 20-point games he had?
No, I don't.
No, I don't. Can you look that up?
He had 215 rushing attempts, 973 rushing yards, 12 rushing TDs. And if you look at his receiving as well, he had 71 receptions.
Oof.
71 targets.
Oof.
Sorry. He had 71 targets,
Oof.
55 receptions. And this
good.
guy could just be a wide receiver.
He's basically Le'Veon Bell
Yeah.
or Alvin Kamara.
Who would have thought? You can understand why the Steelers aren't paying Bell his money.
Yeah, I mean, does that show it's the system, or is Connor really that good?
I think it's the system. I mean, we could look at the stats of what's his face.
Man, it doesn't matter. That guy's a dud.
But that's a good case of, like, is it the system or is it?
Yeah. I know Connor definitely looked like he learnt from Le'Veon Bell. He had the similar patience, tried to hit similar gaps.
Yeah, I think he fits the system perfectly, and Steelers aren't going back to Bell. Bell's already gone.
I wonder where he goes. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right, my backup player, because I can't obviously choose Connor now. For me, James Conner was obviously up there.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, he didn't help people in playoffs. So for me, my player...
He would have helped some teams, though. Just because he didn't help a team in our league, he definitely
Was he
would have
back in
helped
week
him.
17? Did he play week 17?
Oh, yeah, good call. Actually, I forgot about the injury. Yeah, you're right, Jamie.
Did he play week 17? Can you look it up?
He played week 17, but that's not relevant. No one plays week 17.
Anyway. All right.
So that's cool.
So my player, I couldn't pick James Conner because you've taken him. He was clearly a standout. But for me, I've gone with Philip Lindsay, who actually helped people come fantasy playoff
Good
time.
call.
He played 15 games. He got like over, 180 points or something, finished as the number 11 running back, averaged a solid 12.5 points, but he had some really big games in there.
Yeah, I like it. That's a great pick.
Yeah,
Philip
so
Lindsay.
I was kind of annoyed I didn't pick him up. I was a bit skeptical. I was like, oh, this rookie, they've got this massive committee of like 8 running backs or something.
Yeah, he really stood out.
Yeah, I don't know how he ended up getting so many touches. I guess he was just so good.
Yeah, and he's got really great hair.
He does.
That is the most important aspect of fantasy football.
You know,
Every great fantasy football player has great hair.
do you know
Or great cleats.
what would happen if you drafted an entire
Cleats,
team
right?
based on cleats and hair?
I like it. Like, who is it? Is it, who's the player that had the retro Nintendo?
Oh, Nintendo.
Was that
ones.
DT or Sanders?
Oh, man,
I think maybe it was
There was so many
Yeah.
good ones. There was Captain Planet ones this year. There was some good
Oh,
cleats.
yeah, that's right, yeah.
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 Anyway, maybe
I
that's my
remember.
strategy for next year's draft
Or the other way you could go
or next
is
season's.
best celebration.
Oof.
Yeah.
We need to do it. We'll do a top 10 at some
Yeah,
point.
top
of
10
that.
celebrations.
We need to get to that. All right, wide receivers. Let's do it. So off of waivers, I'd like to kick this off, and I would like to say that my man Tyler Boyd is my number
that was
one.
my pick.
My number one wide receiver off of waivers, and I looked at him in week 1 and I was like, this guy is getting targets. And then week 2, I think Eifert went down again because he's a perennial injured.
Yeah,
Like,
just stop drafting him,
sack of
guys.
potatoes. I don't know why I did. I was like, this is the year, people. This is the year. Well, newsflash, guys, it was not the year. But because I had Eifert, I was like, oh, I'm onto this dude, Tyler Boyd, who runs really good routes, has good hands. And next to AJ Green, he was playing, I think, the slot and also out wide sometimes. Big guy. And yeah, he really stood up.
Yeah, he's a big guy. And what can you say? He had 108 targets. I'm looking at it now. 76 receptions out of that. That's kind of James Conner-esque.
He averaged over 10 points a game, which is pretty good. So he carried me through bye rounds. He was huge.
Yeah, he had 1,028 reception yards, which is just, it's fantastic. 7 TDs. I mean, this guy, he's second wide receiver for the team. AJ Green goes down.
Yeah, well, for me, AJ Green didn't actually help that. So as the number 2 receiver, he had over 1,000 yards, which is pretty massive.
Yeah.
AJ Green
Yeah,
actually
exactly.
attracted a lot of the defense,
Yeah.
so he sort of went
Yeah, that's
downhill
what I mean.
once
Like,
AJ Green
you know?
went down. Who have you got versus me?
Okay, so
My Tyler Boyd.
I actually wrote down 3, but I think I have to pick Amari Cooper.
Oof.
Yeah.
He was drafted
Yeah.
off waivers just
Yeah, I
because
guess,
someone
yeah. Okay,
dumb
alright,
dropped him in
alright,
our league.
alright,
Can
yeah,
you go with that?
yeah. Well, I was going to mention, like, he was probably
Bloody
drafted.
Simon got him. I put money on him too. I didn't put enough money.
I think Amari Cooper, he was dropped in quite a few leagues. It wasn't just like...
It's like Larry
Our league,
Fitzgerald,
man.
Joe. You don't do it. And do you know what?
You
The
can
one
do it.
time
You
I
can
didn't put all
definitely
of my
drop 'em.
fab budget on someone, I got outbid from Murray Cooper, and he was insane.
That's just because you spent all your budget on... who was your first pick?
No, I had you in my
This
head
is like
saying,
bloody-
Jamie, that's too much. Jamie, that's too much. So I kept reducing
This
my
is
bid.
Justin Forsett all over again.
Oh, man, I picked that guy up like
You spent,
4
what, like
times.
$60 out
Oh.
of your $100 fab on him?
Maybe is he available
cut
this
that
year?
out.
No,
Forsett?
I'm definitely going to take him if he's available. If he gets picked up.
Just wait. Just wait and use your fab on him.
Oh. Tell you what, if
No,
he
okay.
makes the team's 53-man roster, he's on.
Yeah. Look, okay, if you're not gonna let me have Cooper as my pick, right? Which I think is warranted.
No.
He was probably dropped in quite a few leagues, right?
Boo.
And he would have helped a lot of teams.
Boo.
Okay, fine. All right.
True
so,
waiver edition.
True-
They're like
okay,
hacks
true-
who were not on the radar at the start of the year.
Okay, true waiver edition. My other pick is Adam Humphries.
I like that.
Yeah. So
I did look.
he actually had sort of similar stats to Tyler Boyd, a little bit worse, but he had 105 targets with 76 receptions, so same amount of receptions. But he only had 816 yards with 5 TDs. But I think if you added Humphries, like he was a solid flex start in certain matchups. Especially because
He's got a knack, doesn't he?
yeah, and like.
The thing for me with Humphries, I think that's a really good pick because he actually had some games like 11 points, 24 points, 13 points, 14, 15, some huge games. And it was over those bye rounds, like week 8, 9, 11, 12, 13. Like those were important rounds, I think.
Yeah, and it's quite surprising because you've got Mike Evans, you've got Deshaun Jackson on that team, and yet Humphries is standing out.
Yeah, I guess Evans didn't get the same attention that he got in previous years.
Yeah, but it's surprising, right?
I guess your man Fitzmagic really liked Humphries.
Yeah, I guess it comes down to the way the quarterback plays. No, not even that, because
he just gets open, man. Humphries.
Yeah, it just gets open, I guess. That's what it comes down to.
And they were slinging it this year.
Yeah, they definitely were.
Tampa was slinging it. So it helps your cause if they're
They should
throwing.
have kept it up. Like,
with that many
I don't know.
targets.
I feel like Tampa could have been something special this year.
Yeah, if
Coaching
only
staff ruined it.
their defense is
God
horrible.
damn it.
Except if they just went with
Fickle.
that full offensive
Just
strategy,
fucking
maybe it
sling
wouldn't have
around.
mattered.
Yeah, man.
Well, I guess if
Let
you're
me see
that
some of
bad,
that.
what have you got to lose?
That's it, right? You can't be changing quarterback 3 times a game or whatever.
Yeah, as funny as it was to watch and easy for defenses who are against them.
It was a joke.
Excellent.
Anyway.
All right, moving on. All right, let's talk something a bit different. So there's heaps of fantasy shows out there. Lots of people on NFL.com and ESPN talking about fantasy. I want to talk each division. Let's look at some different players who might not necessarily have been looked at.
The call here is that, 2 years ago, 2016, they were still good players, some of these, but they just weren't as highly ranked coming into the season. And they just exploded.
Yeah, so
over everyone.
Let's look at the most improved in each division.
All right, so we got NFC North, Thielen. NFC East, we've got Zach Ertz.
Your boy.
My boy. NFC South, McCaffrey.
My man.
Yeah. Jamie's favorite. NFC West, Kittle. Yes.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I love Kittle as a pick.
Oh, man, I actually advised someone not to pick up Kittle.
Oh,
And
You should have picked up Kittle.
He exploded after that. I did in another league, but not the money league.
for real. Yeah, so like Thielen bold, he tapered off towards the end, but like last year as well, like Thielen, insane.
Yeah,
He's definitely like
I had him in his rookie
probably
year.
not most improved because he was better last year.
Well, I think he was ridiculous this year. So he had like eight or so consecutive 100-yard receiving games, tied Calvin Johnson for the most consecutive games with 100 yards receiving, and then towards the end of the year he'd tapered off. So it wasn't that great for people who had him in fantasy championships, but he definitely got you to the championship. I don't think he won you the championship, but to have that many is just ridiculous for a guy who I think he was undrafted even potentially. Still finished in the top 40, I think.
Yeah, like TDs, he had 9 TDs this year, 4 last year.
Yeah. I like your boy Zach Ertz in there because he's been good, but he took it to another level in a team that was rubbish.
Wentz didn't even play the whole year. He played like 6 to 8 weeks or something. Foles steps in, and Zach Ertz is still insanely good.
All right, let's have a look at the AFC. So in the AFC, we got AFC North, Juju, your man, Juju Smith-Schuster.
Oh, I love that guy. Another guy I drafted it's not last year. 2017. Yeah, another guy I drafted 2017.
Yeah, in the AFC East, I've got 2 names for you, and you can pick which one. I think it's funny to go with Albert Wilson personally because he suddenly was like amazing.
Ridiculous.
Amazing. I don't know how he managed to do well in a rubbish Miami team. He got injured sadly, but for me, he came out of nowhere. Is that not most improved player? Like, do you have to play the whole year?
Yeah, I see where you're coming from.
Otherwise,
I think most improved is like, it can go, throughout the whole season.
So then Drake's my other name.
Yeah, Drake's a good call too.
Because he definitely was solid for people who drafted him. He didn't hold, I don't think he was the number 1 back. Old man Frank Gore was like the number 1 back, but he was so tired by the time he got him to the goal line that usually it was Kenyon Drake who
he definitely snuck in those TDs, right?
He did. And he's obviously got receptions, so in PPR leagues or half PPR, he was good and seemed to score pretty well.
I feel you.
In the AFC South, you've gone with Ebron. I hate Ebron. I've drafted him so many times, but I've got to give props because with Andrew Luck throwing to him, he held on to it for a change instead of just dropping donuts. Like, he had a bunch of TDs and...
Yeah, I had Ebron a couple of years ago, I think like 3 years ago. Just so many donuts that I was like, I am never drafting this guy again. But, if you had him this year, congrats.
I reckon no one even drafted him. I think he was off waivers.
No, I think, he was just picked up off the waivers.
Horrible. And
nobody wants a guy who's going to get him like 18 points one week, 0 points the next week. It's too volatile.
He managed to not do that mostly this year.
Yeah, I think he did well.
Yeah, anyway, my last...
I don't know if I would draft him next year, though. This coming year.
He wouldn't be at the top of my list. He'd be like, if everyone else who I wanted is gone, maybe I'd take a punt on Ebron again.
I think I'd still skip him.
It's painful.
Too worried.
It's a painful... I'd probably
Once
rather
you've been burned,
take Jacksonville Jaguars defense.
In the 6th/5th.
Okay, so the last category we've got is obviously the AFC West division. And so for mine, I got to say Pat Mahomes.
Yeah, Mahomes. He played a couple of games last year, right?
Gunslinger.
And this year, man, what can you say? You can't say anything.
Yeah, I don't think we didn't even get a taste when he I think he maybe came on late in a couple of games last year.
Yeah.
But he just exploded. I don't think anyone knew he would be that accurate and...
No, I mean, like, you knew he was going to be good, I think. Like, he was the QB I wanted. I don't generally draft QBs very high, and I don't generally draft tier 1 QBs. I try to find the sneaky start who's going to explode. And Pat Mahomes was my choice.
Who'd you end up with?
Oh, man. I just ended up...
Streaming my
QB.
That's pretty standard for you.
Yeah, I drafted Goff. Second week, I dropped him for Dalton, I think.
Yeah, you did.
Dalton, yeah.
Stank.
And that was probably a bad idea.
I thought it was bad, but then Goff was up and down. I thought Goff was going to be like firing, but he collapsed. I think when Gurley got injured as well.
Yeah, I think he collapsed partway through the season. Action. I still would have rather have held on to him because, I don't know. My worry with Goff was that, with Gurley was just going to snipe those TDs from him.
And I think
they
he
were firing.
sometimes.
But the Rams were firing. Like, they had no problem throwing those TDs.
All right, shall we wrap this up?
All right, so our last segment is players that might have won you your championship. These are some guys that could have been sneaky starts or players that you didn't want to start, but you had to start. So we've got Derrick Henry, who exploded at the end of the year. Like, what even happened there? We got CJ Anderson, Jags defense, Kyle Rudolph, Robert Woods, Mohamed Sanu, Aguilar, Antonio Brown, Doug Baldwin, and Jamal Williams.
Man.
Jamie's favourite.
This is such a hilarious listen to me.
Jamal Williams?
Jamie did. It's crazy. And I think a lot of people picked him up towards the end of the year.
Yeah, you're probably right.
You know what's funny is I did not put myself down. I think I finished last to get into playoffs in our league. And everyone was like, oh, cut Derrick Henry. Anyway, I didn't. I stuck it out through many, many horrible games.
Can't believe it.
And
I would have cut him in like week 4.
Yeah, I think he hadn't scored over 5 or 6 points in like 6 weeks. He was getting like 3s. It was horrible. Anyway, I stuck with him because I drafted him so high and had so much belief in his abilities. Anyway, he exploded, obviously everyone knows this, in week 14 for like 48 points. He was on my bench, as with most people. If you pick that, that's ridiculous. I played him the week after, even though everyone was like, do not play this guy. And he scored almost 30 points. That got me through week 15. So that was our playoffs. And then I played him in week 16. As it turned out, I didn't need to, because I also picked up CJ Anderson off waivers. I picked up Jamal Williams. And I had Robbie Anderson, who could have been a flex. And he scored like 24 points as well.
How could you lose, Jamie? You can't lose with that stack.
Well, I could have, because I played against Clem Fandango's, this favourite, who had everyone. He had Gurley. He had Mahomes. He had so many players.
Can't remember who else.
Butker. He had Julian Edelman. He had Philip Lindsay. This is where a bit of luck came in. So he did get a couple of injuries to Juju, Smith-Schuster, and Lindsay. Juju still got 15 points, but I got a little bit of luck, I guess. And do you know who got me through? The Jags defense, who I also stuck with. So Henry and the Jags defense. Jags got 17 points in the championship.
Yeah,
so for me, they should probably also be on that list. How are they not? Oh, they are. They're Jags defense. See, 4 of those players I had.
Yeah, I think you wrote this list.
Well, what do you want from me? They all scored so high, and they were like trash. Like they.
It's true, yeah.
Average picks all year.
They were basically waiver picks, you know.
Yeah. They were, except for the Jacksonville defense, who were worthy of that 6th round pick.
Yeah. So if any of these players helped you win your league, well done.
Do you have any of them? No.
No, man.
Yeah, with
Did
good
you
reason.
see my team?
With good reason. It was so much better.
My team, I made it to the playoffs, but I lost a lot of players.
Dwindled.
Yeah, I could list them off. I lost Sanders, Hunt. Who else?
Hyde.
Who knows? Hyde.
Oh yeah, you
Melvin
definitely
Gordon.
you were. Oh man, and I had Austin Eckler as well, who got me through a few bye rounds. This year was my year, and so I'm so grateful for that, because it's good to just have one championship under your belt and be like, I don't suck at this.
Yeah.
I do not suck. But now, maybe I can just give advice to people, and I can continue my bad luck streak and hopefully give other people good luck. Who knows?
Well, let's see how it goes.
All right. We better wrap it up, because
let's sign off.
It's time to go. But what are we going to talk about? What are we going to talk about next time?
What do you want to talk about next time?
I guess
we haven't even talked about it ourselves.
What do you mean?
I thought you were like going to say this is what we're going to talk about next week, and I was like, we haven't even talked.
Oh no. No, I mean,
worry about that later. We'll worry about that.
Hopefully, if we get this together,
if we do it next week,
it does. No, not next week. Next time.
Jamie might. Oh, next time.
I said next time.
Jamie might turn around and just be like, Greg, you're out.
No, I don't think so.
This is ridiculous.
No, Greg's really good animator.
A baby could talk better than you.
No, Greg just needs to loosen up. He's actually hilarious. So we'll try and loosen Greg up with some more beers next time.
I need some more beers.
If this goes well, hopefully we can throw together some more top 10s and stuff, because we do talk about waivers a lot, and we seem to have a really good feel for people getting targets and good offensive systems and stuff. So hopefully we can share some of those juicy gets with you.
Yeah. So we go. Some injury updates.
Yeah.
Who's injured? Who's coming back for training camp?
Yeah, and hopefully
training camp's a while away, but
hopefully we can do something that looks kind of cool and entertains you a little bit. So something a little bit different.
Hopefully you had fun.
All right, peace out.
Laters.